All right. Technical difficulties today. I am not able to go live in the group. So I just posted that Zoom for some reason is not letting me go live. I have no idea what's going on because I was just live in my coaching group. Super frustrating, but that's okay. So hi, Valerie. And no one's listening, unfortunately, live, which really stinks, but that is okay. We'll make it through. Today is not a super long live stream or training per se, because I do have some really big things coming up. And so we'll talk about that towards the end, Valerie. All righty. So let's go ahead and get started. Looks like a smaller group today. I know that there may be a few joining us. So today is like 3 must-dos when submitting a short sale offer packet. So I'm curious, since we have such a small group today, have you submitted a short sale offer packet? So I would love to know if, ladies, if you have submitted a packet before. I actually love doing that. And so we're going to talk about the 3 things that really you need to implement when you're submitting that packet. Okay. So hopefully, if you haven't submitted a packet, or maybe you have, when you get to that, down the road, you'll think back at this particular training. So I have about 17 years worth of distress sales experience. So I've submitted a lot of packets over my days. That is something that I do delegate out now. And so my team handles a majority of that. So they do all of this for me. But if you have any questions throughout this presentation or this training, please let me know. I do not have a presentation per se in PowerPoint or anything to give. This is kind of a note-taking session, but I wrote down the 3 things, and so I'm going to go over them, and then you guys see if you have any questions from there. All right. So Valerie, I know you're in North Texas. Lumati, you are. I know that because you have scheduled a time to speak to me. Where are you at? 513. All right. So we'll see. Okay. There, yes, Ohio. Cincinnati, is that Calahuga? Or I can't pronounce the county. That's it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So if you're taking notes, or the replay will be available tomorrow, the number 1 thing, so I have 3 things that you should be doing when you're submitting a short sale offer packet, okay? So the first one you want to do is review all of the documentation. Now that may seem simple, but if you're not thorough and consistent and organized, it is not going to fly with the bank. So there's actually a specific order that I put all of my documents in. My team has that, and so they will put that all together for me. Back in the day, we were printing all these documents, preparing the packet, and then scanning it in. Adobe now has some really great programs that they can just rearrange the documents, and we actually don't have to print and waste a bunch of paper and kill more trees. So we do have a specific order, but the things that we really want to look at, and so I'm going to give you some tips here. The first thing you want to look at is the pay stubs. And so you do want to make sure that there are 30 days worth of pay stubs. So if they get paid weekly, it's going to be 4. If it's bi-weekly, it's 2. 1, and it's monthly, okay? Most banks will want the pay stubs that have like a year-to-date earnings. So just make sure it looks like a pay stub. And these sellers, they do get confused. So you do want to make sure that it is 30 days, okay? So just look for that. A complete 30 days, as well as those year-to-date earnings, okay? The other thing for pay stubs is if you are dealing with an FHA, they're going to require 60, not 30, okay? So pay stubs are a big thing. If they do not have pay stubs, maybe they're getting Social Security, then they're going to want the award letter. Maybe they're getting unemployment. They'll have to provide proof of that. If they're not getting anything, then we do have a no pay stubs form that we would have them sign, and then we would include that. That's sort of like a letter of explanation. Hey, we don't have any pay stubs. Okay. Again, if you have any questions throughout this, please either unmute yourself or post. Number two, I'm sorry. Let's continue with number one. There's a lot in number one. So yes, we reviewed the pay stubs. The other thing is the tax returns. So the way that I do it is my team will collect 2 years worth of tax returns, all schedules, all of that. However, that is a lot of paper to submit to the bank. So we technically do not submit the entire tax return. We usually just submit like that main page. I think it's one page where it just has like an overview and then they sign it. So the banks will want those tax returns signed. So we just keep all of the schedules and everything else kind of in a file in case they do ask for the entire return. Hi, Michael. We're going over 3 must-dos when submitting a packet. So you haven't missed much. We're still on number 1, and that's reviewing all of the documentation. So we talked about pay stubs, the tax returns. Most banks will ask for 2 years, even if it's FHA. If they don't have tax returns, then maybe they file an extension. You could provide that. Or again, a no tax returns form, okay? The other thing that you want to review is their bank statements. You do not want to submit a summary. The bank does not want a summary. They want an actual bank statement. You would be surprised on what these sellers send you. So you can instruct them, hey, you can log into your online account. If they don't have an online account, then maybe they're getting them via mail, okay? Snail mail, okay? But we want the actual statement. So it would say on the statement, page 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5. If page 5 is blank, please still submit. Okay, you want all the pages. That is so, so important. Why the banks are picky, I have no idea, but that is just how they are. So just make sure if there's 8 pages, you want to include all of those. Okay. For most banks, it's going to be 2 months of bank statements. Now, if it's FHA, it's going to be 3 months. Okay, so just make note of that. The other thing that you're going to want to review, and this, if you're brand new to the short sale world, this will take some time, but you are going to want to review their application. Okay, so every bank, I shouldn't say every, a majority of banks will have like a mortgage assistance packet that they'll have to fill out. Okay, and so you do want to carefully go through all that just to make sure they filled it out properly. Look at the income, look at the expenses. Ideally the expenses are going to be more than the income. Okay, you do want to carefully go through all that. Each bank, majority of them have a separate application. Okay, and so inside the program, we do have all those. Otherwise, you can just call the bank, ask them to submit it. Sometimes you can find it online, but not always. But review that. It could be 5 pages, it could be 12 pages. You just want to make sure that everything's accurate, because when you're submitting that packet, you really want it to be clean, concise, organized, and to the point. So that way they could just move on to the next step. Okay. So that is number 1, reviewing all of the documentation, especially pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, and the application. For the 3 of you that you're watching, unfortunately, we couldn't go live in the group today. I'm not sure what's going on with Zoom, but are there any questions on number 1?
Yes. So if they're going to if they want to sell now and they haven't done their tax returns, do we have to wait until they do their tax returns for this year?
No. So they will not be, they meaning the bank, will not be asking for 2023 tax returns. So if you were to do a short sale right now, they would be asking for 21 and 22. The banks really don't start asking for 23 until, definitely after tax day. But usually you can get away with it, I would say, till summertime, because some people ask for an extension. And so every bank is a little bit different, Michael. Okay. But if they did file an extension, you could include that.
Alrighty, thank you.
Good question. All righty. Anything else on number 1? All right, so let's move on to number 2. And so this is super, super important. And you may have seen it in some of my videos, but you must put their loan number on the bottom right of each page. And so back in the day in 2007, when I started these, we would have a file this thick and we would have to physically go in and write the loan number at the bottom right of each page. It was a super pain. Now with the great technology and the Adobe systems that you can implement, you can actually type in all that and then cut and paste it on each page. So why is that so important? It's important because when you're sending these packets to the bank, hi Shelly, would love to know where you're located. You can post in the chat. Normally, Shelly, we are live in the group on Thursdays, but for whatever reason, Minnesota, welcome. For whatever reason, Zoom is being a little bit weird and is not allowing me to go live. So welcome to our weekly live stream. We are here every single Thursday. We have some really big stuff coming up, which I'll talk about at the end. But today we're talking about 3 must-dos when submitting a short sale offer packet. So you did miss number 1, but the great thing is this is recorded and usually we release the replay on Fridays. So number 1 was just making sure you review all of the documentation. So important. With short sales, there is a ton of moving parts. And so if you've been in my group for a while, I think this was late last year, I did a session on the 3 pillars of distress sales. And one of them is organization, consistency, and communication. And so really this would kind of go with the organization part. You really have to be organized. And if that word scares you, it is okay. We can help you get organized. Okay. So number 2 is making sure that you put the loan number on the bottom right of each page. And so that is so crucial, mainly because when you're submitting these packets, the bank probably is going to lose documents. Okay. That is the reality. And so that's kind of where the communication comes in. So we have a whole system behind calling these banks. Okay. You have to call them. You have to call them consistently. You have to call them once or twice a week, depending on where it's at in the process. And so that is where you're going to call them and say, hey, did you get all the paperwork? If their pay stubs get lost, then they'll look at the bottom of the page and they'll be able to then attach the pay stubs to that loan number. So please make sure. I know it is a lot of extra tedious work, but please put the loan number at the bottom right of each page. And this is a great task that eventually you could delegate out. So for many years, I was doing all of this on my own. And I do encourage, if you're new in the distressed sales and short sales, do this on your own because it is only going to help your business in the end. Okay. So you want to do it on your own because you want to have that process. You want to understand, yeah, I'm putting the loan number, because eventually that is something you're going to delegate out. And you do want to be able to properly train someone else. And so my transaction coordinator came in 2016, and we literally have a step-by-step guide for every single task that she's able to do. Now she's not licensed, so she is limited, but I prefer an unlicensed transaction coordinator, assistant, whatever you want to call it. All right. So any questions on number 2 about the loan number at the bottom right of each page? That is something you're always going to have. It's something that you get at the listing, because at the listing, they will sign an authorization and you have to put that loan number on the authorization and then you'll submit it to the bank. So you should have that loan number way before you submit that packet. Questions on the loan number? Okay, feel free to post any questions or just unmute yourself. That's totally fine. You can interrupt me. Number 3, know where you're sending the packet. So every single bank is a little bit different. If you're dealing with a Mr. Cooper, you're going to use equator.com. So I will put that in here. If you do not have an Equator account, now some banks have moved away from Equator, some banks are implementing Equator. You can get a free account with Equator. So if you're planning to take on short sales, or if you're in planning to come into the program or just be a part of this group, just remember Equator, just get a free account now, okay? My personal opinion on Equator is I don't love it. It's very task driven. Me personally, I prefer to pick up a phone and talk to someone. Hey, where is it at? What is it? What is missing? Because when you send a message in Equator, unfortunately, they have like 5 days to respond. So it's a little bit annoying. But you do want to know where this packet is being submitted. And so we actually have all of that inside of the program. However, if you're brand new, all you need to do is call the bank. But you may have to call a few different times because it's really crazy. You'll get one person that says this, one person that says this. But like I said, every single bank is a little bit different. So some banks will have an email. Some banks will still have fax. And then some banks will want you to do both. And so it's really important to understand which bank servicer. I use bank, lender, and servicer as the same thing, just so everyone knows where you're going to submit that packet. Okay. If it is an email, you're still going to want to do everything that we talked about as well as a fax. If you don't have a business fax specific to you, I highly recommend getting an e-fax. I think it's efax.com, rapidfax.com. That's what I've used. I've had the same e-fax number for 17 years. It comes directly to my email. If you're planning to do short sales, I would get that because you don't want to have to use the office. They're going to have to send it to you. It's just easier that you're in full control. Just get the e-fax. I think I pay like $9 a month. If there's a lot of pages being faxed, I think it's like 12, but it's really well worth your time because you do not want to wait. Ask the office to send you everything. So my biggest tip for the faxing is just make sure you have your own e-fax. So again, just a quick recap. I know this session is a little bit shorter than it normally is, but I have something big that I'm excited to tell you about. So the 3 must-dos when submitting a short sale offer packet. Number 1, make sure all of the documentation has been reviewed by you. That is something that you should do now, so that way down the road you can implement, delegate that part out. So the most important thing is to review are the pay stubs, the bank statements, the tax returns, and the actual application that is required by that servicer, bank, or lender. Okay. Number 2 is the loan number. Make sure it's on the bottom right of each page. We even put it on the fax cover sheet, but bottom right of each page, every single page. So sometimes there's 30 pages, sometimes there's 150. There are times where my transaction coordinator, Bonnie, has to actually split the packet and send 2 different ones. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to send a super, super huge file. It may not go through via email or fax anyways. And then the third one is really know where you're sending this. Is it an email? Is it a fax? Is it both? Are you initiating it through Equator? So make sure you know which bank does what. And that is it for today's 3 must-do. So if you have questions, feel free to post them or unmute yourself. Maybe you have a question from last week's live stream or any live streams that we have done recently. We are here every single Thursday at 11 a.m. Every single week, there is something new and exciting. So if you haven't, you can go to the guide section. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So if you go to the guide section here inside of the group, then you can go to all of the past recordings. And so 3 things to implement now for distressed sales, how to best represent a buyer. We talked about photos. Here's the 3 pillars to thriving wildly in the niche of distressed sales. So there's all these trainings that we've implemented since last summer. Really just being here weekly to really dedicate time to you guys to make sure that you understand what's going on in the world of short sales. So there's that. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
I did a short sale a long time ago.
Okay.
I'm pretty detail oriented, so I got everything together and I review and all that. But I thought I was dealing with the right location or place to submit everything, and it was actually the wrong place. And the property, we had an offer, submitted the offer and all that. But it ended up, I got a notification that they set a sale date and they ended up selling it like that. So, and then like a week or two later, yes, somebody contacted me, say, yeah, we should have, we should have did this, or they screwed up somehow. But anyway, long story short, I was at the wrong place, I guess, initially. So how do you know that you're at the right place or submitting it to the right, whether it's a servicer or
So it's usually
wherever? Yeah.
it's usually a servicer. So when I go and sit down at these listings, I want to see like the last mortgage statement they have. If it's a
Right.
very old one, then I will provide them the phone number because we have a list of all of the phone numbers, and I will have them call that bank to just make sure it's still there. You would be surprised, but a lot of these get bought and sold all the time. So even though it may have been with Mr. Cooper, it now may be with Celine Finance. So we do want to make sure at that initial appointment, hey, who is the servicer? Who am I going to deal with? It's typically the servicer, Michael. So wherever the mortgage statement, whatever says on the mortgage statement, that's going to be who you're going to deal with.
Okay, but do you
So,
ever get mixed up between inside that, like a Bank of America, for example, they're telling you it goes to one department, but it's actually going to a different department? Has that ever
um,
happened? Or is that, I think that's what happened with me. It's like it
yeah.
went
So
to the wrong, yeah,
back in the day, yes. However, that is not an issue now. And so this I have this group, but I also have my Blueprint Short Sales coaching program, and so inside of that, we have all of this stuff for them. So you really shouldn't have that problem. But when you're calling the bank and you're asking for that information, like I know Bank of America, they do use Equator, Michael, just so you know for future
yeah,
reference. Um, you want to ask them, hey, I am working on a short sale. Is there a short sale department? Is it loss mitigation? And I wouldn't just take that call. I would call then another few times just to make sure. But there usually is a separate fax. There's usually a separate short sale. If they're in a bankruptcy, sometimes there's a separate fax and email for the packet to go there. So it just takes time to gather that information. But yeah, making sure that you're in the right area is obviously going to be a key.
yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I've
You're
done a
welcome.
couple other ones that everything was okay and I was in the right department, but I just had that one where it was
Yeah, Bank of
supposedly a
America,
different place. Yeah.
not the greatest. I don't love dealing with Bank of America. But yeah, I would definitely call a handful of times just to make sure you're getting the correct information.
All right. Thank you.
Verify it. No problem. Any
These are
other
good
questions?
sessions. I appreciate the
Oh, you're
helping.
welcome. I
Definitely.
loved it. We've been going live in the group since last summer. It was just something that I really wanted to implement to be able to spread my knowledge. I mean, I've literally seen everything under the sun. I have so many crazy, wacky stories. But anyways, if there's no more questions, feel free to ask. So like I always say, there's no question that is silly or stupid. Okay. So I rather you just ask. I love to answer questions. I love to explore the questions with you. Sometimes I'll share my screen and show you things if needed. But like I said, these live streams have been going on since last summer. And so I'm always working on secret things behind the scene, not only for this group, but also my coaching program. I'm very dedicated, very passionate about helping the homeowner. It's all about the homeowner, okay? And there are thousands and thousands of homeowners that are struggling. And you may say, oh, there's not a lot of people in my group, in my area that are struggling. I think that is false. And so I use this analogy all the time, and you probably have heard it before. So if you have, just giggle. But you go and buy your dream car. Let's just say it's a black Cadillac, okay? And then you're in that car every single day and you start to see that car because you're in it. It is the same thing with distressed sales. This last year, the year before, the date of the pandemic, before the pandemic, I have always been able to make a living, a six-figure living, just off of distressed sales. The way to go about it is making sure you're doing all of it correct up front, so it leads to so much more business down the road. So there's actually something that I've been working on since last summer. It is finally ready to go, and we are having a huge launch 2 weeks from now. So the four of you are actually hearing about this first. I'm not going to say anything to the group until this upcoming Monday, but it is a launch. The hint for the launch is called Ideas to Avoid Foreclosure Plus Unlock Your County. So that's really all I can say, is that that is what is going to be discussed during this really big live stream. And so there is going to be a registration, because with these bigger launches, I want to be able to send out reminders. And we do have limited space as well. So I'm going to go ahead and post the Calendly link. Again, you all will be the first to be aware of what's going on. But 2 weeks from now, it's actually leap day or leap year, whatever. So February 29th, same time, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. It'll probably be about an hour, but it is going to be the launch of Ideas to Avoid Foreclosure and Unlock Your County. So what is that exactly? You'll find out then. But like I said, it's very, very exciting. So there's a link. I hope that you can schedule that. We do have a limited capacity because of Zoom and Calendly. So any questions on the special live stream coming up, or anything that we spoke about today, or maybe just a question in general? Everyone's still there? Alive? I know it's Thursday. It's been a long week for us.
One other thing, I have a situation now where I'm still doing investigating, so maybe I just haven't. I'm going to do some steps that I haven't done just yet. So I've been sending out some letters and stuff like that, and one of the people contacted me back, and I'd kind of been in contact with this person for a long time, like several years ago. But in any case, it looked like he had a sale date last year. I think it was like September or something.
Okay.
I spoke to him yesterday, so I thought he was in a short. He's going to be a short sale, but he said he refinanced it.
No, you cannot refinance. I'm sorry. So he's either talking about a loan mod or he's lying to you. If he hasn't made a payment, there is no lender out there that is going to refinance you.
So I was trying to look up his lender, and it says something about it's some bank, or I can't even find him online. Actually, it's in Canada. It's called I forget what it's called. Hold on a second here. Let me find
Loan care?
no, hold on. I'm trying to open up the primary title here. It says L Assets.
Okay.
EL space ASSETS.
Okay. What is
And
he?
I tried to look them up online. I can't even find it. It's like
Okay, where are you located?
San Francisco Bay Area. This
Okay.
property's in Oakland, California.
And he tell me again.
So he had a sale date of 7, where was it?
Oh, he already had the sale date.
He had a sale date, but
Did
I'm
it get
looking
posted?
on the title, it still says his name, the Living Trust.
Okay, so when was the
It
sale
says
date?
there's like there's a notice of recession that was 9/1, whatever that is. And
So
then this loan and this, whatever he did, says the loan amount is 900,000 now, and that date is 12/20. With this lender, the lender name on the preliminary title is called L Assets.
So it sounds like, and I don't know without looking at everything, Michael, but you are in California, so it is opposite of what it is here in Illinois. So you're an NOD state, if I believe, correct? So it
Right.
probably, do you know when your redemption period is? Maybe they're in redemption. I don't know 100%. So every state has a different redemption period. That is also another big tip. Try to please go and figure out when your redemption period is. I don't know if you would be able to help him. My biggest advice is have him call that lender and see if he can even still sell as a short sale, or you just sell regardless.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, I've never seen anything like this. And like this L Assets, I can't even find them.
You can
I'm going to
email.
meet with him on Saturday, so I'm going to ask him to bring his statement. But
Yeah, feel free to, I put my email in there. It's really, unless I'm digging in a little bit deeper, but it sounds like he probably went to foreclosure. And who knows? I'm not sure about the redemption period. So like here, once it goes to foreclosure, that's it. Then they'll go to court, start the process of confirming the sale, and then they'll kick the sellers out. But that could be a couple months. I don't know as much about the process. I don't like helping the bank. I like to help the homeowner during the process. So
right.
I'm curious how that meeting goes. But it sounds like he probably can't do anything. It's probably way too late for him. And that's another thing we stress inside of our community is like, hey, we're the advocates here. Let's go out and try to tell these homeowners, like, come to us sooner rather than later. So there's a whole process behind it, but it sounds like that's probably just from the little bit of what you've said, Michael. There's probably nothing that he can do, but you could certainly send me an email after you meet with him on Saturday
Okay.
and get some more details. I put my email there, and I did put the link again. Here's a link to do the special live stream. It's 2 weeks from today. It's really something you do not want to miss live. Um, like I said, it's been in the works since last summer. So there you go. Be on the lookout for the replay tomorrow. I hope all of you have a great weekend. We will be back 1 week from today. I already have that session planned. I'm very excited about that. But please, schedule it now to be here 2 weeks from today.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, everyone. Have a blessed afternoon and a great weekend. I got your registration, Valerie. Thank you.